It's February 15th. I'm Ezra Levant, and this is Battleground. Well, hi everybody, how you doing? I should tell you that it's not just February 15th, it is our 4th birthday, and we had a little bit of bubbly. We're not big drinkers around here, so I think we had 2 bottles and we only went through 1. The whole team, I had 2 glasses with orange juice, so forgive me if my words are slightly slurred. I'm excited though, because a 4-year anniversary is something to celebrate for any startup company that really started up with no money. Grassroots from scratch, in a hurry, by the way. And here we are 4 years later, and we're in a tough industry. I'm not here to complain or whine. I'm just pointing it out. It is a fact that the media business, especially the digital business, is very difficult. Don't take it from me. Take it from Huffington Post, BuzzFeed, all the crap sites out there that feed you left-wing pap all the time. Huffington Post amongst the worst. Those companies have hundreds of millions, in some cases billions of dollars of market capitalization, money pumped into them by left-leaning San Francisco venture capital firms who probably think they can make some money off of it, but are probably making their investment in large part based on ideology. So if BuzzFeed, HuffPost, Vice, and the rest of the leftist crap, if they are laying off reporters by the thousand, and we're still here 4 years later with our 100% crowdfunded model, that's something to celebrate. That's not even boasting. That's just, holy cow, we're still here, and maybe we found a way. And I did a monologue yesterday for about half an hour, sort of going over my review of the last 4 years. We're going to put that whole thing on YouTube in full. Normally my show's monologue is just, it's just behind the paywall, but we're going to put the whole thing up because I want you to share my sense of accomplishments and to review some of our failures as well, which I do. But we're alive and kicking. In fact, by some measures, we've never been stronger. We've never had more YouTube subscribers. We've never had more people in our lists of supporters and donors and petition signers. I feel like we're strong. I mean, knock on wood. I hope we don't, you never know what's going to happen until it happens, but I feel like we're in a good place. So as I was doing my monologue yesterday, I was remembering back to those early days. Can I show you a video we did? We didn't even really have an office. For the first week, The Rebel was run out of my home. And we had all these people in my house, and that was fine during the day when the kids were away, but the kids would come back from school, and I think it scared them a little bit, frankly, so the missus said, you got to get out of here now. So we operated for a couple of weeks out of a boardroom of a hotel, the Courtyard Marriott in Toronto, for those of you who know the city. It's okay. But you can't stay in a hotel boardroom. It's too expensive anyways. So we found a little shared office on Temperance Street. That was way too expensive, way too tiny. And finally, we found a home when someone I knew had an abandoned daycare. I'm not even kidding. Can we put up a picture of the daycare? For those of you again who know the city, it's at Bathurst and St. Clair. It's got this huge sign on it to this day. The sign says Amazon Indoor Playground, and it was an indoor playground. There, do you see it? That whole low rise there, and can you see behind it? You can see there's a tower behind it. So this used to have a playground in it, an indoor playground, and the landlord was going to knock it down and put up another tower. And he basically said, until the wrecking ball comes, you can just put some used furniture in there and just run it out of there on your cell phones and whatever. We get some internet put. So we took over the Amazon indoor playground. It was really funny because for the first few months, mums would just come right on in, assuming that it was still the playground. Easy to assume because that sign is still up there. And they'd look at us and say, ooh, this ain't an indoor playground anymore. It was actually pretty funny. We had little signs on the door saying Amazon Playground closed. But we were there for about a year and a half until we just outgrew it. I think by the time we left, we had close to 20 people. And there was just one little bathroom. I like to joke that the bathroom was, those child-sized toilets you see in elementary schools. It wasn't quite that bad, but it was not built for 15 or 20 grown-ups working full-time. So we did move into our new permanent real office. Actually, on January 1st, 2017, we made the move almost on our second birthday. And here we are on our fourth birthday. I can't even believe it. Anyway, so that's a little bit of a ramble, but I encourage you to watch my whole retrospective. And by the way, thank you. I saw a super chat come by. Thank you very much. Primus 81, happy birthday, $5. Thank you. So can I show you a video? I think this one went up on, if memory serves, because I really remember those days. I'm even guessing it was February 25th. Do I even have that day right? If I do, that's me remembering 4 years ago. So here's a video where we had been operating for about 10 days. And we didn't have a studio, so I was on the street. It was so cold. Oh my God, it was cold. And I'm stupid, so I don't wear a proper jacket or hat or gloves. I should have just worn gloves. Oh my God, it was cold. It was so cold. Our camera equipment and our iPads and stuff were like, you know how quick a battery goes down in the cold. So here is me. It must have been minus 15, doing my best to explain how we were going to build the Rebel. So we were 10 days old, and we had made about 50 videos, and we hadn't asked anyone to do anything yet. We were just sort of proving we could do it. Okay, you put a video up on your first day. Can you do it again on your second day? Can you do it again on your third day? Can you improve the site? Can you make it better? Can you even know how to do it? Do you even know how to produce videos on the super cheap as opposed to doing it at the Sun News Network? So here is the plan that we rolled out 10 days after we were born. I want you to watch the whole thing. I think it's only about 3 minutes. Look at this video presentation from just under 4 years ago, and you tell me, have we done what we said we would do? Take a look. Hi, I'm Ezra Levant. I was the anchor of The Source on the Sun News Network, but the sun has set and thousands of people say they miss us dearly. Is there anything we can do? I think so. Along with a handful of former staff, we pledged to create something new called www.TheRebel.media. As the .media part suggests, it's everything you love. Videos, news stories, podcasts, updated around the clock and available on your computer screen or even on your cell phone. We started right away, literally out of my living room last week, but we're already producing national quality TV clips, and we're reporting stories that nobody else will. Here's our simple business plan. Produce enough quality news, opinion, and activism to inspire a loyal following. Aim for 50,000 people a day coming by the site for a quick look. That sounds huge, but we're growing like crazy, already getting about 20,000 hits a day. Now, most of those will be casual users, and we'll make a few pennies off each of them in display ads, but we hope people will love what we're doing and become engaged in our community and buy a membership. Members would get special paywall-protected content that casual viewers wouldn't. I'm talking about exclusive documentaries, feature interviews, special things you could only get from the Sun News Network in the past and that you'll only be able to get from us now. That's our business plan, but we can't start this business alone. Will you help us? In the past week, we've shown you what we can do on a shoestring budget. Imagine if we actually had some real tools, professional cameras, video software, even a studio. Will you chip in? We're asking everyone who loved the Sun and was sad to see it die to crowdfund TheRebel.media and help it be born. So we've set up a crowdfunding page on our website, almost like a wedding gift registry, where people who want us to start our business can help us. I've told you our plan. Please help us get the tools. I've listed all of the things we need right on our website at TheRebel.media, from buying lunch for the team for $40 to endowing a chair in investigative journalism for $40,000 and everything in between.
If you want to cover Ottawa seriously, then you've got to be here in the foyer of the House of Commons at microphones like these, asking the tough questions. This is the only place where the media really holds politicians to account.
Thanks, Brian. Did you love the Sun? Let's build something even better. If you give us the tools, we'll finish this job. Thanks, my friends. Visit TheRebel.media, and good luck to us all. Well, what do you think of that? I think we pretty much did that. In fact, I know we did. As you saw there, my goal was to have 50,000 visits a day. Well, our videos, I mean, it ebbs and wanes with a particular video and with the news cycle, but there have been days we've had more than 1 million views. Most of the time it's about 500,000 or 250,000. We're about as big as CBC's The National is. But it's pretty fun to see that our goal back then was 50,000. And we did do what we said there. We have free stuff on YouTube. It'll always be free. And then we have the paywalled show, the premium stuff for $8 a month. I think it's sort of working. And the very first part there, when I said news, opinion, and activism, those are 3 different species of journalism, I think, and we do those 3. We report on the news, we give you our opinions on the news we've reported, and on occasion we do campaigns. Billboards, polls, hire a lawyer to fight something. So it's sort of fun to look back 4 years later and say we're sort of doing it. And I want to say thanks to you guys for being the lifeblood of it, because we are viewer supported. We do not take any of Justin Trudeau's bailout money. We never will. And by the way, I was about to end that thought by saying, and he would never offer it, but that's obviously not true. He would offer it to us the most, the hardest, the most generously, proportionately. I remember when I was at Sun News Network and I went down to the CBC headquarters to do some stunt there. I remember I threw some life preserver and we were talking about privatizing the CBC. So I was at the Sun, we went to the CBC, we're doing a stunt at the CBC headquarters. And I later did an access to information request about what the CBC thought inside in their emails and other communications about that visit. And the vice president of CBC at the time, CBC vice president, I've just forgotten her name. She was married to, she dated one CBC talent and then married another one. What's her name again? Do you know the name of the CBC vice president who dated half the staff there, and including the guy who was a little mosque on the prairie or whatever. Anyways, she said, Catherine said, I can't remember. No, it's not that important. It's just, she was such this corporate star, but she basically just, So I saw an email from her. So here's my point. So I had been at the CBC and I had embarrassed them because I was talking about privatizing them, and I went right in there, got it right up in their face. I went right into the building itself and I recorded it all. So it was a little bit of chutzpah. And this executive vice president, whose name I can't remember, I should publish that email. She wrote internally, "Can we hire Ezra?" I swear to God. I swear to God. So I'm this right-wing troublemaker from Sun News. And how does the CBC propose to handle a right-wing troublemaker from Sun News? Swear to God, give me a Bible, I'll swear on it. I don't need to swear on it, I'll show you the document, I'll dig it up. She says, "Can we make him an offer? Can we hire him?" That is how they think at the CBC. That is how they think in Trudeau's Liberals. They don't think, we'll never give any money to Ezra. We'll never give any money to the Rebel. Are you kidding? That would be the most valuable payoff they ever made. They don't need to pay off CTV. CTV is already in the tank for them. They take the CTV for granted. They don't need to pay off the Toronto Star. Toronto Star is already in the tank for them. But imagine paying off, in this case, me. So yeah, that $595 million bailout fund by Justin Trudeau, I was about to say we would never take it and they would never offer it, but I can assure you they absolutely would offer it, but we're not going to take it. Mr. Urchu, Ezra, put some sponge in your mouth to absorb the saliva. That ain't saliva, mister. That is, we got this champagne here, and behind it, I'm sort of hiding my actual drink, which is Red Bull. Because I want you to think I'm drinking the champagne on our birthday. It's actually not opened. We only went through one bottle. So I was sort of, did you see that? I was sort of hiding anyway, I'm sorry I'm sort of sounding saliva-y. I did have a couple of glasses. There, I'll move that down so you don't have to hear me chewing. Okay, you know what? I was talking about me. I was talking about our company a little bit and our 4th birthday. And I was talking about my time at Sun News. I'm not going to talk about that anymore. I have a very lengthy review of our last 4 years. It's a half-hour review. I encourage you to watch it. And I actually get into our financials. Can you call up TheRebel.media/trust? You know what we've been doing since 2017? The Rebel is a company. It's called the Rebel News Network Limited. It's a registered Canadian company. We're not a charity. We're not a nonprofit. We're not a government institution. We're just a company. And we've set up this page 2 years ago, actually. It's called the Rebel Media Financial Disclosure. We explain how the Rebel crowdfunds. As you can see, the average gift is $63. Just scroll down. Scroll down until we get to the numbers. So we have our stats there. Total Rebel expenses that we crowdfunded, $2.8 million. As you can see, travel for journalism, $171,000. Our biggest expense by far is staff, including reporters, producers, editors, and web. More than $2 million a year. That's where our crowdfunding goes. And can you see the second largest number there? It won't surprise you, it's lawyers. $350,000 in lawyers. Now, not all those lawyers are for us. As you know, we crowdfund lawyers for public interest cases too. It's sort of a laugh that we spend 20 times, 30 times more on lawyers than we do on camera equipment. We only spent $13,000 on camera equipment, 24 on other office equipment. That includes printers, copiers, scanners, stuff like that. Studio build out. There's, we have lights and stuff. So that's where the money goes. Scroll down a bit, scroll down. So that's where it goes. Here's where it comes from. So we spent $2.8 million on those expenses, $2.245 million of which comes from crowdfunding. As you can see, that leaves a shortfall of just over $500,000, and we make that money up through ads on YouTube, through mainly through paywall subscriptions to my show and the other two shows we have, Sheila Gunn Reid's show and David Mitchell's show. So that's the Rebel. And we're a private company. There's no obligation to put our internal stats up like that, but I believe that our business model is so ethical and so innovative that I am absolutely unshy about it. As you can see in our terms of service, we call it pay it forward or social commerce, which is if we have a free speech event, let's say, and if we make a little bit more on that free speech project, we'll apply it to either the overhead or to other free speech projects. So anyway, I'm proud of how we do it. As far as I'm concerned, it's the cleanest way to do journalism. The other alternatives that I am aware of are taking money from the government, from Justin Trudeau. How can you ever be honest again then? I mean, you just can't be. How can you be an honest reporter on Justin Trudeau if you're getting paid from Justin Trudeau? You just can't. So that's the model favored by most journalists because it's the lazy way out, it's the certain way out. And you're part of the establishment, so no one's going to marginalize you. Another way to do journalism is to have a major corporate benefactor and you're part of a big machine. CTV would be part of that, for example, Rogers. Another model, which is similar but a little different, is having an extremely wealthy patron of the arts, like Jeff Bezos, who owns the Washington Post, or Carlos Slim, the world's second richest man, who owns the New York Times. It's no coincidence that the richest man in the world owns the Post, the second richest man owns the New York Times. The richest Canadian, the Thompsons, owns the Globe and Mail. This is not a coincidence or a surprise. It's because these people want a political seat at the table. So the Washington Post and the New York Times, they do real normal journalism. But Jeff Bezos and Carlos Slim and the Thompson family, they're not interested in sports scores or the stock market scores. They can get those anywhere. They're interested every once in a while in weighing in with a political matter. And when you've got the New York Times, the Washington Post, or the Globe and Mail behind you, you can pack a wallop, you can pack a punch. So if you are willing to be the plaything, the hobby for a billionaire, fill your boots. And by the way, there are a few of those on the right as well. My friends at CRTV are sponsored by Kerry Katz, who is almost a billionaire. He's a very conservative guy. I happen to really like the guy, by the way. But he is a billionaire, and he is a patron of the arts, and I don't think they're in the black yet. Ben Shapiro and the Daily Wire, they have a patron of the arts, billionaire family. So do you see these other alternatives? You could take government money. Could be a state broadcaster like the CBC or Russia Today or Al Jazeera. No thanks. You could be part of a massive corporation. And you know, when I was with Quebecor and Sun News, I was very free. There were certain things you weren't going to talk about. I mean, we were owned by Pierre-Carl Pelleteau in Quebecor, so he really wanted a professional NHL hockey team in Quebec City. He wanted to build a stadium, he wanted a hockey team. Okay, so don't talk about that. Just don't be pro or con. Just stay away from the few hot button issues. But really, there were so few of them. He was a Quebec industrialist. I really don't talk about those things a lot. So I was extremely free at Sun News. But most corporate journalists are not. Most corporations are risk averse. They have a lot of pressure points on them. They're subject to Twitter mobs or outrage mobs. So work for the government, work for a big risk averse corporation, work for a billionaire who has you as a plaything. I mean, some billionaires collect sports teams, some billionaires collect yachts, other billionaires like the Thompsons collect newspapers. All right, you can do that. Or you can do what we do. We crowdfund on average $62 a pop from people, and we have built an enduring company, God willing, knock on wood, that has lasted 4 years. I thank you for listening for so long. It is 12:22. Let's get on to the fun stuff. I just want to talk about that for a bit because it's our birthday. I don't think the Rebel's ever going to make a mint. I don't think there's a lot of money in online media. In fact, it's mainly a losing proposition. But what I do know that will have in riches is a moral rate of return. And by that I mean outstanding journalistic moments. And one of them happened just a couple days ago in Calgary when our own Cian Bexley, who's one of our younger reporters, did some amazing research at the courthouse. He found that a very senior cabinet minister in Alberta is going through divorce. Now that is not newsworthy in itself. Divorces happen very frequently. It's very unhappy, but it's a private matter, it's a personal matter, it's not a political matter. But within the context of that divorce, there were shocking allegations of misconduct made by this cabinet minister's wife under oath and filed at court. So this isn't just rumor mongering. This isn't just insults or heat of the moment stuff. This is writing a statement, swearing an affidavit on pain of perjury, and filing that affidavit with a court. You do that and you're lying, theoretically you could go to prison. So the cabinet minister's name is Darren Billis. He's the Minister of Investment and Trade or Infrastructure, something like that. And his wife, Mrs. Billis, alleges, number one, that he had an affair with a fellow MLA woman who is now an MLA and caucus chair. Number two, he refuses to pay her even a modest alimony. He's a deadbeat. And number three, that he's a drug addict. Not just a casual user, but that he is addicted to drugs. I should tell you that we omitted a lot of personal matters, family matters, health matters, things that are just of no interest to the public. But I believe that the matters that we did publish are of the public interest. And Cian Bexley put these questions to the Premier and this minister himself. Take a look at how that went.
Premier Rachel Notley, documents filed by Minister Billis's wife, sworn affidavits, suggest that he has a problem with drug addiction, as well as the details in that sworn affidavit suggest that he might be one of the MLAs who the NDP caucus covered up in terms of sexual allegations. Can you confirm or deny this?
What I can say is that that question is essentially irresponsible rumor mongering, and with the greatest respect to you, you work for an organization that probably ought to be registered as a third party under the elections legislation, and so I have nothing more to say to that.
Minister Billis, will you answer the question?
I have nothing further to add.
Other question?
Well, I thought that was great journalism, and boy, did they look unpleased. What's incredible to me is, as you can see, the rest of the media party were standing right there. I later saw on Twitter that some of the other media party journalists knew of these allegations, they just chose not to report them. Hey, how did that go for Rob Ford, the late mayor of Toronto and brother to Doug Ford? Rob Ford obviously had some substance abuse problems, and he used drugs. And that was probably the subject of 1,000 news reports. Why is it not newsy when it's a New Democrat who is credibly accused by his wife of being a drug addict? Well, the question answers itself, doesn't it? All right, so that was, I thought, very exciting news coverage by our reporter. And you know what? I joked with our people. I said, maybe we should strike a deal with the NDP. We should probably strike a deal with Justin Trudeau, too. Not a deal for their money, but what do you think of this? It's a thought experiment. I'm not serious, but if the NDP were really nervous about some scandal, if Rachel Notley or Justin Trudeau were really, really worried about something, they would give it as an exclusive to The Rebel. Because we would run with it hard. We would break the news and all our people would get it, and we'd send it to them by email and by video, and boy, would we tell the story. So it'd be a huge win for us here at The Rebel. Huge win for our viewers who would get the truth. So why on earth would Rachel Notley or Justin Trudeau do that? Well, because they would guarantee that the mainstream media would not touch it. We've broken two huge stories in Alberta over the last couple of weeks. One is that Rachel Notley was giving a $440 million loan guarantee to a company that defaulted on a $507 million loan. And Rachel Notley said that oil sands upgrader was already under construction, and we went there and it was just an empty field. Huge scandal, meticulously reported. I actually did that report, if I may say so myself. And just you could hear a pin drop from the other media because this was the story, because they don't want to cover what we do first. The mainstream media does not want to acknowledge that we're better journalists than them, or maybe it's just ideological allegiance to Rachel Notley. But what do you think of my thought experiment? If you're Justin Trudeau, Gerald Butts, Rachel Notley, you're worried that, let's say, Postmedia or CBC or the Globe and Mail will do a critical story review, give it to The Rebel. Rebel will scream bloody murder, but it'll only go to Rebel viewers. It won't go on the CBC or the Globe, and they will refuse to touch the story. That is my working theory. It's a thought experiment. I think it's right. Now, occasionally, the media party does break the narrative and criticize the left. It does happen occasionally. Let me show you a very interesting exchange on CTV with Don Martin and with an old friend of ours, Solomon Friedman, one of the smartest criminal lawyers in Ontario. I had a chance to get to know him a little bit better when I was at the Sun News. He is so smart. In fact, he's published, I think he co-published a book with a judge or so. I mean, that's how smart. He's just a youngster. But he's probably one of the smartest lawyers in Ontario. God forbid, if I were ever needed a criminal lawyer, I would immediately call him. Look at him on CTV, speaking truth to power. Take a look-see.
One of the reasons that all of this smells so much is that, I mean, first of all, the deferred prosecution regime in and of itself smells. But if you look at it and you look at what does it take to qualify, you start going through, there are a list of factors. So one of the things is, has the company or its representatives been convicted in the past? Guess what? They have. How high up in terms of the company hierarchy does the corruption go? Well, in the case of SNC-Lavalin, to the very top. How serious are these allegations or previous convictions? Well, they're bribing officials to get the Montreal hospital project, right? So when you look at this list of factors, have reparations been made? Really, have the people of Libya been made whole for the hundreds of millions of dollars that were stolen from the citizens to enrich the Gaddafis? Of course not. So SNC-Lavalin would never qualify for one of these arrangements by the letter of the law.
Huh. So it would take friends in high places to make that happen?
Maybe a little undue influence, maybe some pressure, maybe some directing, all those things that we're hearing about. It's not a surprise when you look at the law. This is not a law that a company like SNC-Lavalin, given their past track record, could ever qualify for.
Well, that is so interesting. I don't think Don Martin was expecting that answer, but to his credit, he did run it and had him on in the first. But that goes to Justin Trudeau's scandal. I see a couple of super chats. T. Dialer Dunbrack chips in $20. Thank you. It says, happy anniversary, best journalism in Canada. Well, thank you for that. And I see our friend Kelly Day. Hi, Kelly. Great to hear from you again, and thank you for attending and playing the piano at our Rebel Live event in Calgary. Kelly says, happy birthday, Ezra and fellow Rebels. Thank you for your work. Here is a tiny bit towards legal stuff with Notley. Yeah, we got another letter from the election commissioner yesterday. I haven't had a chance to make a video about it yet, but they're trying to silence us. I can just tell you, you're going to literally have to duct tape my mouth shut, and even then I'll type. And you're going to have to like put my fingers in little finger handcuffs. Do those exist? Like little tiny little handcuffs, and even then I'll type like with claws. It's going to take a lot to shut us up, and just some stupid letter from a partisan isn't going to make it happen. All right, well, let's keep on going here. We showed you that Solomon Friedman clip on Don Martin's show on CTV. I didn't properly set it up. For our non-Canadian viewers, Justin Trudeau fired our Justice Minister, our Attorney General, and it turns out that he did so because she was objecting to, well, there's a big engineering company in Quebec called SNC-Lavalin, and they paid huge bribes in Libya and helped steal tons of money in Libya. So they're being prosecuted for those crimes. And Justin Trudeau and all the other Liberals are pressuring the Attorney General to drop the charges. And the Justice Minister, the Attorney General, who's actually an Aboriginal woman, first Aboriginal woman Justice Minister, she had more principle than them, and she refused, and they sacked her. And that's an incredible story. I see a couple more super chats coming in. I'll get to those in a minute. But I want to show you, it's absolutely Justin Trudeau's worst moment in his 3.5 years as Prime Minister. And it strikes at so many of his strengths. It shows that when he appoints people, including women of color, to be his Justice Minister, it's just for show. If they ever show any independence of thought, he sacks them immediately. But it also shows that he's not working for the middle class and those working hard to join it. That's his phrase. No. He's working to help billionaires get off the hook for the crimes of ripping off third world citizens. Let me show you Justin Trudeau when he was asked a question that he wasn't scripted for. He sort of freezes up like a robot. Take a look.
Ms. Wilson-Raybould gave you for why she decided to resign from cabinet?
Do you want me to answer that question in English? I'm just trying to remember. Okay. As a government, we take very seriously our responsibility to grow the economy, to invest in jobs, to invest in a strong future for Canadians. That's exactly.
So someone asked in English, what did you tell her when you fired her? Pause. Do you want me to answer that question in English? What? Yeah, that's a good idea, buddy. The question was posed in English. English is your first language. You can answer that in English. And then he pauses and he says, I can't remember the line. Okay, yeah, we're working hard to build jobs, blah, blah. That wasn't the question, Top Gun. That wasn't the question. The question is, what did you tell the Justice Minister when you fired her? Okay, I wasn't briefed on this. What do I say? Do you want me to answer that question in English? Think. What's my line? Don't say that out loud, Justin. Think. We're helping bring down taxes or what? It was just quite something. I see a couple more super chats. Mike Corbin chips in $10. I love the old Sun News Network, but I wouldn't trade the Rebel to get the Sun News Network back. That's nice of you to say, Mike. Happy anniversary. I don't know if I would. I mean, I have a tremendous sense of paternity over the Rebel. I was the founding force behind it, me and about a half dozen other folks. It's hard having a billionaire patron is amazing. He dumped $50 million into Sun News. I was overpaid. We had a makeup staff. it was luxury. Not by the standards of the CBC, but by the standards of our, Amazon indoor playground, that abandoned daycare. We were working out of an abandoned daycare on used furniture with cell phones, and there's one little like kid-sized bathroom for the whole team. Yeah, a part of me really, really, really does want that Sun News Network back. It's not coming back. But if we're talking about fantasy, hypothetical scenarios. But it's true that the Rebel has probably seen more and reached more people because of where we live on the internet than the Sun News Network did. Theoretically, we could have bolted the Rebel on to Sun News. But this is all just daydreaming and hypotheticals. Fact is, the sun sets. And we made the decision to found it. And you, our viewers, made the action to keep us alive. And here we are 4 years later. So really, it's up to you. I guess people want it, because the moment people don't want it, we're done. When you live off $62, $63 donations, whatever they are, you'll be out of business in about 10 minutes if you get to the place where your people don't want you anymore. So it keeps you honest, I'll tell you that. Fraser McBurney, Annika Rothstein did a fantastic job in Venezuela. You thought no one was interested. She would be a great person to cover South America. We need to know. Well, Fraser, it's funny you say that, because first of all, I absolutely agree with you. I thought she did a really good job down there. We were looking at sending someone down to Venezuela from Canada, but to get there is very far and expensive. And Caracas is one of the most dangerous cities in the world. And that's just the crime, let alone the political situation. So there's no way that I could, in good conscience, send someone down there without security. So we're probably looking at a cameraman, a reporter, security, 3 flights. There's just no way that's under 20 grand. And not even a lot of people there speak English. It's not like Western Europe, where everyone speaks English, or not everyone. A lot of people speak. You go to Sweden, Germany, Denmark. Sweden, it's 90%. Denmark, 90% of people speak English. In Caracas, I bet it's 10%, maybe. So it's just logistically, and mainly it was security. It was cost-wise too. But if you're a Lone Ranger, you can go to Caracas, you can go to dangerous places on your own. But when you're a boss and you're sending an employee to what's almost a war zone, you can't do that in good conscience without having Blackwater level security. So we couldn't do it. And then I discovered that Annika was down there. And we offered her some dough to do some videos for us. She already had a security guard, bulletproof vest, things like that, so she had already taken those into account. I want to tell you, though, Fraser, I don't know if you saw my video last night. I'm not going to tell you exactly how much we spent on her, but we spent thousands of dollars. And I know that we raised like maybe $600 for all our Rebel Venezuela crowdfunding. Now, did I love her work? Absolutely. Was it great reporting? Yes, it was. Was it exciting to have a Rebel down there, even just a freelancer? You bet it was. Do I regret it? No, of course not. But for some reason, Rebel viewers don't care about this Venezuela story. I sure do. Annika does. She did a good job. But look, I'm not going to keep spending our money on a storyline that our people don't care about. That's the accountability that being crowdfunded and viewer supported makes. So we're going to follow the things our viewers want. I might want our viewers to care more about Venezuela, but I can understand if they don't. It's a faraway place, especially to Canada. There's not a lot of connections. The United States is much more focused on Latin America, especially places like Miami and Marco Rubio, especially people who are Cuban exiles. Cuba has been marauding about in Venezuela. We don't have those connections. So that's, ironically, Fraser, that's an example of how a crowd-funded journalistic mission failed economically, and so we can't do it again, because then we'll be out of business. A few more super chats, just in time. When will Nutley drop the rip? Proud of your boys, Calgary. Oh, I don't know. I'm thinking any minute now. Any minute now. MVP, what happened to Katie Hopkins? Hope she's okay. She is independent. I know she's still fighting hard all the time. She was doing a video project on the continent. I'm not sure if she's released it yet, but I'm sure that'll be out. All right. So I think I covered the super chats. It's 12:39. Time flies. I'm gonna skip the Anthony Housefather quote because if we have time, we'll come back to it later. I want to show you one of the strange phenomena of the last 4 years. When the Rebel was born, remember the Sun News Network was shut down. They called us, both our friends and our enemies called the Sun News Network Fox News North. Our enemies said that as some sort of insult. I took it as an enormous compliment that we had not yet lived up to. I mean, as you may know, Fox News is by far the biggest ratings scorer of the cable news channels. Like, it's quite usually bigger than CNN and MSNBC combined. It's also the most trusted network according to viewer polls. I know the left mocks that, but it's just true. The left doesn't trust it because it's not with the leftist narrative. So when people call us Fox News North, I thought maybe one day we'll be like them. But of course it was not to be. We were euthanized by our state regulator, the RTC broadcast regulator. So there was sort of a hole in the conservative movement, and the Rebel sought to fill it. And in our early years, I'd say probably for the first year and 3 quarters, we were in pretty tight with any conservative in Canada who wanted a voice, either if they couldn't get that voice on the CBC or the mainstream media, or if they wanted to speak directly to the conservative base, or if they just, liked our people and knew us. So we had a lot of conservatives on, and in fact during the conservative leadership race, I think there were like 13 or 14 contenders, I can't remember. We probably talked to 10 of them. And at least 3 of the campaigns advertised with us. But around the same time that YouTube demonetized every conservative site, that was about January, February 2017, the mainstream media in Canada started following that same deplatforming strategy. It's almost like a message went out: don't engage Trump supporters, conservative supporters, deplorables. Don't treat them as normal. Denormalize them and deplatform them. And Canada's Conservative Party was in the midst of a leadership vote. And so, like I said, most of these conservative candidates were coming through our events or our shows to appeal to our base, and they started to be attacked by the CBC and Maclean's and other mainstream media. Don't talk to the Rebel, don't talk to the Rebel. And there was a tipping point moment. Can we get the Lock Her Up clip? Is that possible to find that? We had an anti-carbon tax rally on the steps of the Alberta legislature in December of 2016. It was just after Donald Trump won, and everyone knew that fun chant, Lock Her Up. And so some of the out-of-work oil men in jest had an homage to that and chanted Lock Her Up. Of course, it was just said in fun, and I think I timed it. I think it was like 21 seconds or something. But the CBC took that. These protesters actually want to take Rachel Notley and lock her up. They want to kidnap her and keep her in a prison. That's violent. No, but that's the shtick they went with, and they do what the mob does. You know how the mob works on Twitter, but mainly in the media. Some crazy activist posing as a journalist calls someone up and says, oh my God, this terrible thing happened. Will you join me in denouncing it? And by the way, wink, wink, if you don't, I'm going to denounce you too. So you have to decide immediately, are you with those deplorables shouting lock her up, or are you with Rachel Notley and me? And the politician often doesn't have all the facts, and they're terrified of the media, and they have a very quick choice to make: join the mob or be consumed by the mob. And to my regret, conservative politicians chose not necessarily to join the mob, but they chose to retreat from the public square. And do we have that clip? Let me know when we have it, because it's so modest. I want to show it to you. And so And here's what it is. I mean, as you know, we have a lot of friends in the Conservative Party still. And I spoke, let me just show you the clip, just so you know what I'm talking about. Take a look at this.
Is doing now.
It was that guy with the bullhorn who got the chant. Like, what was that, like 20 seconds, maybe? And he chanted back saying, vote her out, whatever. It was a lighthearted moment. They weren't actually going to grab her, put her in manacles, and lock her up. But that was the moment where the timid conservative said, oh, yikes, they're a wee bit deplorable. I don't think we should have anything to do with them. And as you can see, we were really the ones lighting the fuse there for the anti-carbon tax movement. You can see all our Stop the Carbon Tax lawn signs that have turned into a huge national movement. But and my friends in the leaders' office of the Conservative Party tell me, look, if we were to do anything with the Rebel, the mainstream media would dine out on that for a week, and we would just be attacked for a week. And I think that's very cowardly. But I want to show you something that someone sent to me. I didn't know about it. But Andrew Scheer, the timid, milquetoast, half-hearted, mild Conservative leader, and I'm sorry, tell me if I'm wrong in any of that, was asked by a 14-year-old girl, I think this is in Halifax, maybe it was in New Brunswick, about why he blackballs the Rebel. He doesn't blackball, Andrew Scheer doesn't blackball any other media outlet, doesn't blackball the CBC state broadcaster, doesn't blackball Huffington Post, Vice, BuzzFeed. They despise him. They steal his lunch money any day. He doesn't blackball them. Same with Jason Kenney, by the way. The CBC calls him a gay homophobe every day. The CBC calls him a bigot every day. And he can't stop loving them. Oh, sure, they hit me, but it's because they love me. It's a real battered wife syndrome thing going on with Andrew Scheer and Jason Kenney and the leftist media. But they won't talk to the Rebel. But look at this. Here's a 14-year-old girl who says, how come you won't talk to the Rebel? They're the only conservative news. And this is just so classic. Andrew Scheer is so wobbly, and I'm not being mean, I'm just calling it like I see it, that he like a seat cushion, he retains the impression of the person who last sat on him. So if it's Wendy Mesley saying, don't talk to the Rebel, he won't. But it's a 14-year-old girl saying, why don't you talk to the Rebel? He says, oh, okay, maybe I will. Take a look at this.
I noticed that you banned the Rebel media. By banning any media, are you not doing exactly what the party stands for? The Rebel and a few other media outlets are the only source of frightening news provided to the Canadian people here in the East. Prime Minister Trudeau has set up a $595 million slush fund for Canada's few remaining private sector journalists, but only if he can trust them. Although most of the media stations are accepting this bribe, the Rebel isn't. These media stations are taking Trudeau's fund. If they're taking this funding, they're more than likely going to show favor to the Liberals. Largely why we have Justin Trudeau as a Prime Minister rather than our former awesome Prime Minister Harper is the media's putting their swing on stories or not reporting them at all. They're going to try to do this again and sway the next election. Would you please reconsider your approach on this topic and not ban or shun the Rebel or other small media stations who are working to report to the Canadian people the stories none of the other media want to cover?
Thank you very much for the question, and I certainly congratulate you on being so engaged at 14 and having that kind of interest in not only political parties but also the dynamic between how events are reported and how different media outlets cover things, and the accountability that goes on between media holding the government to account and also sometimes different outlets holding each other and fact-checking different stories in a wide variety of ways. So we always have open policy towards the events we hold. You know, we're having this event tonight. Anybody is free to come. There's no barrier to entry. There's no barrier to come and report, to video, to broadcast, to live stream, and that's something that we're going to continue to do.
That's sort of a weird lie because, of course, we were physically blocked by security from entering the Conservative Party convention in Halifax, but maybe they'll let us back in, but of course I know they won't. Because, and I'm not being mean here, I know he's so weak that of course he told this 14-year-old girl what she wanted to hear just to get out of that tough spot for 30 seconds, and then someone else will lean on him and say, no, ban the Rebel. And say, oh, okay, I will, yeah, we don't agree with everything. I mean, he's just, you know, I got to tell you, with the economic disaster in the Alberta oil patch, which the foreign affairs meltdown from India, China, which has Canadian citizens hostage, the United States NAFTA collapse, Saudi Arabia practically at war with us, Russia literally banning our foreign minister from traveling there. I really don't think our foreign affairs has been in a bigger shambles since the Second World War, but that wasn't even a shambles. We were allies and enemies. It's not a shambles, that's clear. Foreign policy disaster, economic disaster, massive scandal. I'm sorry, why aren't the Conservatives at 45%, 50% in the polls? And who is it to get them there? I think it's sort of embarrassing. Daniel Barger chips in 10 quid. Thanks for the tenor. To Ezra and all those at Rebel, keep up the great work, particularly commend Jack and Martina on their quality work. Here's to another great year and happy birthday. Well, thanks very much. You know, I'm coming back to the UK. I've decided to go to Manchester next Saturday because Tommy's got this big thing. I see some other questions about that. If I have a minute, I'll talk a little bit about Tommy's thing. A message was retracted by someone who chipped in 5 quid. I'm sorry I didn't see it. You know what? I have a couple more clips, but I'm going to skip them because they're not that interesting. In the 9 minutes we have, what I'm going to do instead, with your permission, I'm going to have another sip of Red Bull. I didn't crack the bubbly. I'm going to read some more questions, and I'm going to take some questions because I saw some questions in there. One about Tommy I might take, and some others. So I'm sorry, I'm taking a sip while we're on the show. All right. Paul Ouellette. Ezra, we're hurting so much here at home. Venezuela is a distant storyline. Yeah, I heard that a fair bit. Listen, fair enough. Perhaps I'm a bit of a dilettante, or I don't feel like I'm a poser. I actually truly care about Venezuela. It's a country about the size of Canada, population-wise. Used to be the 4th richest country in the world measured by per capita GDP. It was richer than Canada. It was richer than the UK. It has the world's largest oil reserves, even more than Saudi Arabia. It's a Western country. It's a Christian country. It's a developed country. It's an educated country. And it's been turned into a miserable, starving wasteland by Hugo Chavez, Nicolas Maduro, and Castro. I actually really care about it. I've probably done 20, 30, 40 stories on it over time, but I understand. Here at home, people are hurting in Alberta and Saskatchewan and other places. They don't let Venezuela take care of itself, or let America take care of it. I get it. I'm just saying, I'm not criticizing viewers for not caring. I'm sort of doing the opposite. I'm pointing out viewers say enough with the Venezuela. Okay, so we're not going to have a freelancer down there anymore. I wasn't trying to be mean. I'm just explaining how we operate because we don't have government money, corporate money, or a patron of the arts. It's you. It's you who chooses the stories. I'm just looking for some, okay, I don't see it here very quickly, but someone had made a comment about Tommy Robinson, the BBC. I know a little bit about that because I still stay in touch with Tommy from time to time. It goes in fits and starts. Sometimes I'm talking to the lad every day. Sometimes a week goes by or more. But I like to, you know what, I feel like we're friends. He's moved from calling me mate to calling me bruv. And my assessment of the hierarchy is moving from mate to bruv is a step up. I don't know where gov is. You got mate, you got bruv. Alex, which is higher, mate, bruv, or gov? Gov is the highest? Gov is the high, okay, well, but I think that's like calling someone Mr., right? Or governor. Or it's like saying your honor a little bit, right? So, or maybe it's not. I mean, there was this one cabbie I got, and he gov, gov, gov. Like every 10 seconds he was saying gov. It's like he had a Tourette's or something. It's like saying boss here, Alex said. We got a fella here who's from the UK, works with it. Okay, so Tommy has promoted me from mate, which I get the feeling you call someone mate, it's almost ironically. It's like, mate, can you get out of my way? Hey mate, you're parked in my spot. So if you call someone a mate, it's almost like saying, excuse me, friend. Like you're sort of saying the opposite. So Tommy is giving me a promotion from mate to bruv, which I think is more like buddy. But even that can be, oi, bruv, you're not really going to do that, are you? So I'm bruv now, and if he says the gov's me bruv, then I know I'm in. So back to Tommy. So I'm just joking around. Listen, I should tell you that I'm making jokes, but I enjoy every minute of it over there. And I've had such an education on the United Kingdom, and I must tell you that I am absolutely certain that if I had not befriended Tommy Robinson, I would never have learned this side of the UK. I probably would never have left the city of London proper. I certainly wouldn't have gone to Luton, to Sunderland, to Manchester. Maybe I would have gone to Manchester. So I've and I very much doubt that I would have met so many people who were working class. That's the phrase over there. I just don't think I would have. I think I would have been in the tourist circuit, maybe the political circuit, which is largely fancy pants. So although I'm having fun with the gov and the bruv and the mate and all that, to stop joking for a second, I've really enjoyed that side of the world I've learned. It's also a terribly sad and depressing thing that he's shown me, the state of northern UK and working class UK, and how the toffs, I got that right? Am I saying toffs are the fancy pants and chavs are the low? Is that right? All right. How the toffs treat the working class like chavs, and they don't give a damn. And that's particularly evident with the rape gangs. Observer Dude chips in £5 and says there's lots of anti-Semitism in Manchester. Jewish shops have been targeted for protest, threats, and abuse. I've seen a little bit of that with my own eyes. I find Manchester a deeply depressing city for a number of reasons. Its Islamification is one of them. Yeah. So anyways, Tommy was hunted by a BBC documentary. How much time do we have? 3 minutes. Called Panorama. So that's sort of like their prestige. Can we grab, go to Tommy's YouTube page and grab him and John Sweeney. So they were doing this, they were hunting Tommy. They were pumping his ex-employees for dirt on him, bribing them, offering them things, getting the dirt on them, and they were putting together a first-rate assassination. But Tommy, well, he turned the tables on them, and he had at least one of the people who were being interviewed by Panorama film Panorama filming them. So here's this clip from Tommy's own website. Take a look at this.
So that everyone understands the reason why the elite, the classist elite.
Don't call me elite.
Am I a cannibal? Let me play the next bit for you.
I've met Danny. Danny was, I was working on some film on Newsnight, and Danny was in the green room, and it was unusual to meet a white working class male in the Newsnight green room, and it was so unusual that me and one of my mates, we went down there to have a drink with him in the way that you would do with somebody from a cannibal from the Amazonian, from Amazonia, or maybe a creature from outer space.
So working class white male is a cannibal from the Amazon. No, that's what you said. You on camera saying.
Okay, so wait a second.
You are a classist elitist. The way you view working class people is a disgrace. The reason we have the problem we have is because a journalist like yourself, from the background you're from, sneering down upon our community, sneering down, thinking you're better than us. And let me just play the next bit.
So what's happened is the Labour Party doesn't do its job properly for that end of the population. Well, the point is you hear much more accents like yours and mine rather than fuck off, or rather than Tommy's.
So in the Labour Party, they will hear accents like yours or hers, middle class, rather than fuck off. You believe the working class vocabulary is simply fuck off. No. That is your classism. No, what I'm doing is...
It goes on a bit. Here's the point. That bearded guy there was John Sweeney. That's the killer from Panorama. And they were meeting Tommy to interview him for their show. But Tommy turned the tables. He played for them on the TV screen in the room there the video that he had filmed of Sweeney calling working class Brits cannibals, like from the Amazon, and then the profanity. I didn't quite understand all that. But my point is, Tommy preempted them, and Tommy is going to be rolling out his version of their smear job in 8 days in Manchester, outside the BBC headquarters there in Media City, Manchester. And I thought, you know what, I haven't been over to the UK since October, when Tommy was finally set free from the old at the Old Bailey. And Tommy said, Ezra, can you come over there and report it? And I said, you know what, it's been a while, I'll go over there. So I'll give you more info about that, and we'll report on it. It's going to be amazing. Have you ever heard of that before? Someone being attacked unfairly by a journalist, records the journalist doing their work, records the recorder, watching the watchman, and he's going to release it on Saturday. I think it's going to be very exciting. Anyways, folks, that's it. Thanks for letting me ramble on a number of subjects. There's one last super chat. Let me just say it. Hot Soup says, happy birthday from your southern neighborhood of Florals. Well, thanks very much. You know, we've got viewers in Canada, America, the UK, Australia, all around the world. And it's such a pleasure. Thank you for supporting us. Thanks for letting me indulge in some big fish stories and some war stories. But the Rebel success is really your success. That's where the money comes from. That's where the support comes from, the viewership comes from. And that's why we do our best to try and listen to what you want and give it to you. That's it for now, folks. Until next time, on behalf of all of us here at Rebel World Headquarters, goodbye, and keep fighting for freedom.